Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar. You have stepped into a course that is going to change the way that you look at data. Not just how you analyze it, but also how you communicate it. My name is Nivid Desai. I serve as the Program Executive at Writing Studio IIT Gandhinagar. Welcome to Writing for Data Science. This course is at the intersection of analysis and communication. As all of us know, data analysis is not just about coding and models. It is about solving real-world problems. And that is exactly why every single thought that goes into solving those problems needs to be communicated. And not just to one audience, across multiple stakeholders. That is where this course comes in. This course prepares you with the foundations of writing, especially curated for data science. We will discuss audience analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, as well as storytelling that is native to data science. So join me on a journey at the intersection of numbers and narratives. I'll see you in class. Namaskar, hello and welcome to Writing for Data Science. My name is Nivid Desai and we are on a journey to explore the interesting intersections of numbers and narratives. In the last lecture, we began exploring the deep world of audience analysis. We began with establishing the foundations first, and then we moved on to looking at the different strategies and approaches for how the audience analysis is done. During that journey, we discovered that one of the key distinctions that exist within audience analysis is the difference between technical and non-technical audiences. In today's lecture, we will start discussing what do these two words actually mean? Where do these differences come from? And what do we do with them? How do you define who is a technical audience and who is a non-technical audience? In today's lecture, we will define technical and non-technical audiences. I will provide you with some real-world examples of what each of these audience categories look like and what are their key characteristics. We will also look at how do they differ from each other and what are the nuances that we need to be careful about when we treat each of these as our targeted audiences for communication. Let's begin by the definition of technical and non-technical audiences. Let's look at technical audience first. A technical audience consists of individuals with specialized knowledge in a subject, such as data scientists, audiences that are comfortable with complex data, industry-specific jargon, and advanced methodologies. These are people who would have a clear understanding of the conventions and practices of any particular industry. In our case, these would be people who know the nuances of practice within data, not just the theory, but also the models, the algorithms, and the methodologies which are specific to specific kinds of data science analysis. They would also be either proficient or interested within advanced methodologies. They may either have the knowledge for it or the curiosity for it. And because this is the realm of their interest, they would be comfortable with complex data and industry-specific jargon. They would understand specific words within specific contexts. So, for example, if a computer programmer speaks about the word language, they obviously mean it in a different context than a linguist, right? A linguist may look at human language, while a computer programmer may look at computer programming language. The word remains the same, language, but the context differs depending on which discipline it is applied in. This is what I mean by industry-specific jargon. Jargon doesn't necessarily mean complicated big words. I mean jargon as specific meanings associated with specific terms. Now let's look at non-technical audiences. A non-technical audience comprises individuals who may rely on data for decision making, but they do not have deep expertise in the subject. This group of professionals and policymakers who require simplified insights rather than raw data or mathematical models. These are people who have use for the processes that you do on data, but they may not be able to replicate the processes by themselves, nor do they need to, because they need your data, your insights, and your analysis to make decisions. They need all the raw material, they need all the mathematical models to serve a certain purpose. So, it makes sense for us, the data crunchers, the number crunchers, to actually do the process and then give them the recommendations, suggestions, and insights that they are actually looking for, so that their task of making decisions, making policies, and making strategies becomes easier. And that's how you become a dynamic communicator, by adjusting the levels of your data based on who is reading it. That's how you become a clear communicator. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think of a time when you had to explain something complicated to a friend or a family member who was unfamiliar with the topic. They did not know what it is that you were talking about. They may be interested, but they did not have a clear idea of the field. How did you adjust your explanation? Take a couple of minutes and think about it. I'll see you back. I hope you had fun thinking of a memory when you had to explain something complicated to a friend or a family member who was unfamiliar with the topic. This is a challenging atmosphere, I understand, and this is where the depth and breadth of your knowledge is truly tested. If you can't explain something to a 5-year-old, have you truly understood it? And that's where we start adjusting the regulators of our information. That's the fun. And that's what we will continue to discuss in the upcoming modules as well. But for now, let's see at an example of technical and non-technical audiences. A data scientist presents a machine learning model's performance to a group of software engineers. The explanation includes algorithm selection, hyperparameter tuning, and performance metrics such as precision and recall. That's an example for technical audience, because they would be interested in how the process was conducted. Let's look at the non-technical audience example. Now we shift the audience. A marketing team. A marketing team needs insights from customer behavior data to plan an advertising campaign. They require a high-level summary, such as 70% of customers who receive personalized emails make a purchase, rather than a breakdown of the statistical analysis behind this finding. All they care about is what is the insight. What is that one piece of information that they can actually act on? Look at this sentence once again. 70% of customers who receive personalized emails make a purchase. There is a statistical component. It's clear how many percent of customers they are talking about. It's clear what the action from our end is, as in personalized emailing. And it is also absolutely clear what it converts into. It converts into purchase. So, with these three components, the statistical accuracy, the action that the campaign needs to take, and the result that is expected out of this action, all three of these portals are absolutely clear within one single sentence. That's the effect of clear writing as far as the non-technical audience is concerned. If you complicate any of this with any detailed descriptions about how did you arrive at this insight, you will lose your audience. Because neither do they understand nor do they care about the process that required you to arrive at this level of insight. However, they will find this insight incredibly valuable because it will help them drive actual decision making and eventual growth. So, let me remind you of something that we discussed in the previous lectures. The point of a non technical audience is not that they are at a lower level of literacy or understanding. The point of a non technical audience is that they have a different utility, a different use case, a different purpose for your knowledge. A technical audience may need to know what utility does your knowledge have as an end of itself, while a non technical audience would need to know how your knowledge can be used as a means to their end. And that's the distinction I want you to be absolutely clear about. The technical audience is an end in itself, while the non technical audience uses your knowledge as a means to an end. Both of them have respectful backgrounds, and both of them have their respective traditions that they need to adhere to achieve the goals that they have set out to do. And you can make a difference to both of them based on how do you regulate your dynamics of communication. Now, before we move ahead, let's make a quick, fun 2-minute exercise. Remember that list I asked you to create a couple of lectures back? I hope that you have the same notebook with you at the moment. Revisit that list from a couple of lectures back. Consider whether you would change any of your entries. Would you categorize any of these roles differently? We have understood technical and non-technical audiences by their definitions today. So would you move things around in that list? Check it and make the changes. I'll see you back. If you have made zero changes, congratulations. You grasped the concept of technical and non-technical audiences as intuitively as possible. If you have made some changes, I'm very glad that you put your mind to the right use and made a calculative decision of shifting one entry to another section. Now, please pause and think for a moment. What is it that made you categorize this particular entry into one section previously? And what is it that made you change it this time around? This kind of intentionality is what we know as the writerly temperament. When you make a change from list 1 to list 2, it should not only be an arbitrary change. You have to be absolutely clear about why you made the change. What was the calculation that you made previously? And how have those calculations changed for you to shift it to another list? I hope that exercise was fun. If there's still any kind of ambiguity, the next topic might clear it for you. Characteristics of technical audiences. Let's look at what actually comprises technical audiences' attitude towards communication, right? Technical audiences prefer detailed explanations, including methodologies and statistical models. They care about the methods used, algorithms, models, and tools, validation metrics, and technical feasibility. Let's pause for a moment. I would like to spend some time explaining this. I have used two words over here, methods and methodology. How do they differ? Methods mean what was used. I've put them in the bracket, please check it for yourself. Algorithms, models, and any tools that you used. These are the bare details of what was used. Methodology is a systematic way of thinking about the methods. Methodology justifies why this method was used. And that is also something that the technical audience is concerned with. If you chose a certain method to work with, why did you choose it? Why was that the appropriate method to go ahead with your modeling? That is something that the technical audience may be concerned with. So spend some time, be a little more intentional in choosing your methods and having a purpose, reasonability for choosing your methods. And they will also be concerned with technical feasibility. Whatever model it is that you have proposed, is it actually possible to execute it in real life? Is it feasible by the technical standards? So whenever you are communicating with a technical audience, ensure that you understand and explain the feasibility of your technical ideas as clearly as possible. Are they implementable? Are they applicable? What are the dynamics of application? What is the importance of application? All of these would be areas where the technical audience would derive a lot of value from in terms of your communication. Technical audiences also understand industry-specific jargon and they do not require any simplifications. So, in case you use any first principles reasoning or any simple language in this case, you actually run the risk of dumbing your content down to a little more extent than required. So they do not require any simplifications. Instead, they focus on accuracy, precision, and reproducibility of results. Let's see what this phrase actually means. Accuracy, precision, and reproducibility of results. This means that you have to be as accurate and as precise in describing both your method and your methodology. Why? Because it will only be scientifically feasible, it will only be technically credible if somebody can independently reproduce both the methods and the results. So when you have documented the results of your experiment or of your model, it should be possible for somebody else to pick up your paper, read the methodology like a recipe, and reproduce the exact same experiment to get the exact same results that you documented in your paper. That is what ensures that your scientific propositions are robust and they are scientifically credible. So that's something that a technical audience would value a lot, the reproducibility of your own results. Moreover, they also value novel approaches, optimization techniques, and performance improvement. So in case if you have made any innovation, be sure to share that with the technical audience because they would need to know what are the new ways of breakthrough emerging within the scientific and technical community that make research and application of that research more feasible. So they would be more interested in novel approaches, any kind of optimization techniques that you have innovated, and any performance improvements within already existing models and already existing methodologies. So in case if there is any breakthrough that you have come up with within this domain, ensure that you communicate that with the technical audience. You will find the right people there. For example, a data analyst explaining customer churn models to a team of fellow analysts, mind you, technical audience, they might include details like, using logistic regression, we found that a 10% decrease in email engagement correlates with a 15% increase in churn risk. The model achieved an AUC ROC score of 0.92, indicating high predictive performance. Like I said, this information is dense, not only with method, but also with the results. So take a moment, pull apart the different parts of this long sentence and try to see what each part indicates. Is it the methodology? Is it the discovery? Or is it the results? And what impact does it have on the actual conclusions of your analysis? Let's spend a minute reflecting on this question. Why might a technical audience be more interested in details like AUC ROC scores or statistical significance? Any of the technical details that we have discussed in the past, why do you think a technical audience would be more interested in these parts more than the actual application of these details in the real life? Take a moment, think about it. I'll see you again. Now that we have discussed the characteristics of technical audiences, let's arrive at the characteristics of non-technical audiences. Non-technical audiences prefer high-level insights and summaries without excessive technical jargon. This is the opposite of the technical audience. They focus on practical applications and business impact rather than technical implementation. They are more interested in how the data can inform decision making, reduce costs, increase revenue, or improve efficiency. They care about return on investment, market trends, customer insights, and competitive advantages derived from the analysis. This is all applied towards the application of your analysis. Like I said previously in today's lecture, it matters what the purpose of your analysis is for your intended audience. In this case, your analysis is a means to an end. Everything that I have enlisted until now, decision making, cost reduction, revenue increase, efficiency improvement, return on investment, market trends, customer insights, all of these are ends. And your analysis is a means to that end. So, in no way is a non-technical audience at a lower grade than a technical audience. They just have a different utility for the analysis that you bring to the table. Therefore, I would like you to be more cautious while interacting with the non-technical audience because they require a clear justification and a clear application of your analysis. They might not be interested in the technicalities, they may not even understand the jargon, but they clearly have a purpose for your analysis and they will be able to use it to the best capacity that your insights offer. Therefore, they require clear and simple explanations and they often benefit from visualizations. They may not deal with pure cold hard numbers. They would require the synthesis of that data, of those statistics, into visualizations. They might require something graphic, something like a chart, like a bar graph, something like a plot, would be very useful to derive insights for all of them. That's where the clarity of thinking that you have as a writerly temperament can be reflected within your mode of communication. For example, if presenting to a sales team, a better explanation of the same churn model that we discussed previously would be something like this. Customers who receive fewer than 3 emails per month are 15% more likely to stop using our service. Increasing engagement could improve retention. Take a moment, let's break down different components of this writing. Customers who receive fewer than 3 emails. This is a clear segment that we are addressing with clear numbers. Per month are 15% more likely to stop using our service. With a clear statistic, we are talking about the impact of the strategy that is already in place. Therefore, if this is what the analysis has derived as the insight, here is the recommendation. Increasing engagement could improve retention. How do they increase engagement? That is up to them. But we can offer them as data analysts, we can offer them that this is the way to get the kind of results that you want. Therefore, this one line, increasing engagement could improve retention, works as the insight that your non-technical audience is looking for. If they are marketing consultants, if they are the marketing team, if they are the sales team, they know exactly what to do to get the results that you recommend them. So, if you talk to a non-technical audience, you rise above the cold hard world of data analysis. You actually make your analysis applicable across different domains of roles, across different profiles, and you get to see the value that your analysis brings to different kinds of sectors within an organization. Let's do a quick exercise. Take a technical sentence from your discipline. Maybe open a textbook, read a research article, or go online for a blog. Take a technical sentence from your discipline, rewrite it using the first principles approach that we have discussed in previous lectures. This is how you ensure that a non-technical person would understand. Take any sentence, take a paragraph if you would like, and try to break it apart to make it applicable and understandable for a non-technical audience, preferably using our first principles approach. You would see the difference between the paragraph that you have chosen and the paragraph that you have written. And that is the gap between a technical audience and a non-technical audience. So we were understanding the difference between technical audience and non-technical audience. As we have discussed, they require different levels of detail, language, and presentation styles. Understanding this distinction allows us to have a clearer and more effective communication in data science. It is essential that we understand this distinction and augment our communication depending on who is reading it or listening to it. The encoder side of things, if you remember the process that we discussed a few lectures back, the encoder of the message has to keep the decoder of the message in mind while designing the message. This is the core of communication design, and fascinatingly, it applies to our domain of technical communication as well, of data science as well. I hope that as we keep developing our understanding of technical and non-technical audiences, we keep these fundamentals close to our minds and hearts so that we can keep applying this framework to all the other insights that we derive in our successive lectures. In the next lecture, we will look at some key approaches and strategies that we need to practice while communicating both with a technical audience as well as a non-technical audience. Until then, I hope that you spend some time revising these fundamentals, and I hope that we have a robust understanding of these core ideas before we move forward. Keep learning, stay curious. I'll see you soon in the next class. Thank you so much. Namaskar.